Good afternoon, everyone. We want to welcome you to our board work session. Um, it's a couple of minutes after 4, so we're going to get started. Our reverence today will be by Dr. Dean Wilson.
Dear Lord, we come before you today with both thanks and praise for the opportunity to serve the students, parents, and staff of Uintah School District. We ask that as we work, we're able to foster positive relationships between the educators in our communities and the students we serve each day. We pray that there will be mutual love, respect, and honor for one another, and that we may come together in times of joy and distress in order to build a stronger community. Let us all acknowledge that we've been given this day to use as we will. We can waste it or use it for good. What we choose to do with it is important as we are exchanging a day of our life for it. May the children of USD know and understand that their educators love them, care about them, and want them to do well in life. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dean. Board policies to review 2022 and 2023. That means nothing to me now, Superintendent. You explained it to me once.
So, yeah, so this is
Your mic's.
thank you. So with our new handbook and our new process, we've got the 30 governance policies that we've identified that have a lot to do with the operations of governance with the school board. And so what I did is I sent a survey around to the board members. I think we had 5 respondents who prioritized the 10 that they felt like we should move forward in reviewing over the course of this next school year. And so if you look at board docs, I have included under administrative content, you can look at the data. And if you look at that data, there were 7 policies that received 3 or more votes. So those are pretty obvious, the 7 that we need to review. And there were several policies that had 2 votes and a few that had 1 or 0 votes. So my recommendation is we take the 7 and then we start at the top of the list and just in order hit the next 3 for this next school year, and then we can reevaluate and go through this process again next August. And the board may want to review one that we just reviewed if it's important enough or needs additional work, or we may select a different set. And so my recommendation is that we go with those 10. However, Dave, as board president, you can direct me on how you would like us to proceed. And I would suggest we have some conversation, but I don't think this really rises to the level of an action item where, have some conversation and then just direct me on how to proceed.
State our top 3, will you, Superintendent?
Yeah, so, well, okay, how about, okay,
Set.
our
Okay.
top 7. So our top 7, it's policy 001.0120, which is the objective of the school board, okay? Policy 001.0120 is the policy that lays out the expectation for board members, okay? Policy 001.0140 is relations with parent organizations. So that was one of the top 7. Then we went to the section 2, so 002.0450, which is the adoption and change of policy. Okay. Next we have 002.0600, which is statutes and state rules and regulations. We have 002.0700, which is school community relations. And then finally 002.0720, which is public appearances at board meetings. So those were the top 7, and then the next 3 on the list would be the statement of philosophy, principles, and board legal status, powers, and duties. And now those 3, it could be any 3, right? Would receive 2 or more votes. That's really up to you, but my recommendation is that this is not really intended to be a short-term fix. This is intended to be a long-term, consistent process where over the course of the next few years, we really strengthen those leadership policies. So that's why I would say just take those next ones in order and go with it for now and reevaluate in a year.
Board members, is that okay with you? Any thoughts, things you'd like to change? Sounds like we're good to go, Superintendent.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll put a schedule or a calendar together, and we're gonna just lay out the school year with this policy work and possibly some other leadership governance type activities. We won't do this right now, but later in the meeting, we'll schedule our retreat, and that'll give us a time to really roll up our sleeves, go through that handbook, make any changes or adjustments we want to, and then we can really solidify this process. But at least now we can start to move forward.
Okay, sounds good. The only thought I have, Superintendent, is there any of them that's old enough that law's telling us that we need to get on them sooner than later?
That's a good question. It's interesting that most of our operational policies, we get a lot of recommendations from, from the state, from the School Board Association, but it's not often the governance policies come up. So I haven't really done an analysis on that, but I certainly could. And if we find one that we feel like there's a legal issue, we can certainly bring that in at any point in time. Okay?
Just a thought.
It's a good thought.
Just a thought I
Yeah.
had.
Thank you.
Okay. With that being said, let's move on to committee reports. Somebody jumping up and down to, I'll start today. We'll go down the line backwards. I think probably it's raining outside. That's wonderful in the Uintah Basin. We love it when it rains. They, unless you got hay down and then you cuss, but a farmer cusses no matter what the weather's doing. So they, probably the most exciting thing for me right now, it looks like we're going to try to break ground on the ag building around the first of the month. And so they, that's exciting. There's lots going on. Jason had to chop us off when our time was up at the facilities committee meeting. So that's a really brief report. Still working on the fueling station. Lots of things like that. One thing that I was really proud of that I wanted to mention, the superintendent got wind that the CEC building, if you remember last week was in the 100-degree temperatures. It was, the teachers were smoking hot up there. The kids was. He went up and visited with them, give them some options, and you know, the staff said, you know what, we're not going home early. We're just going to tough our way through it. And so, you know, they there's always people doing extraordinary things in our district, and I appreciate them making the best of what they could. Hopefully it's a little better this week. The temperatures has dropped significantly. So did I leave something, Superintendent, out really important on the facilities?
No, other than the preschool project up on Utah State's campus. We are really close on the MOU. We've had legal has gone through that now, and we've got that to the point where it's just about ready to send back to Utah State so that they can take that to the Board of Trustees. So we are making progress. I know that seems like it's taken a while, but behind the scenes there's a lot that has had to happen to get it to that point. I had a chance to meet with Dr. Taylor up at Utah State just yesterday. They continue to be excited about the project, and they're fully on board. So it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, we're excited about that. In the future for facilities, I'm sure that we're going to be looking at properties that we have that's not really useful for the district, and properties we may need for things in the future. And so if any of you I know facilities is a big committee that we all have concerns about, so if any of you have any questions about that, I'll answer them. If not, that's a quick overview.
Yeah, one more quick thing, if it's
Sure.
okay, President. So the other thing we talked about is starting work on a 20-year facilities plan. And I'm really excited about this. I know that sounds kind of funny, but it gives us a real opportunity when we long-term plan. We can do some really cool things. And, you know, I think we all realize that at some point in time, we're going to have to build a second high school. Building a high school, it invokes a lot of emotion, right? So we want to try to make some decisions and set some targets before it becomes emotional. And we have an opportunity to do that if we really look at data and we set some triggers for certain things to happen, right? Like one is we've got to acquire some property, and we're probably already past that trigger. So that's one thing that the board needs to start thinking about in the facilities committee. Another thing is at some point we've got to make that determination of, well, how many students really? I mean, we know the capacity at the current high school is 2,300, but at what point do we get, you know, with our projections to a point where we really have to get serious about going out to our community and asking for a bond? This board has decided that we're going to bond to build the next high school. So I'd like to, in that 20-year plan, we have an opportunity to address those things in a non-emotional time and make it so that it's systematic, so when those triggers come, our community is well aware. They've had a chance to process it, and I think that'll help us as we have to reach out to our community at some point in time to build a new high school. So that's just an example of how we can leverage a long-range facilities plan. So for that, yeah, I'm kind of excited about it, but it'll be a lot of work. It'll be good.
Thanks, Superintendent. Board members, that will become absolutely necessary, where we'll have to bond. And so, and like the superintendent says, we don't want the public, sooner or later, someday in Vernal, that's got to happen. Our school will only hold so many. So as board members, we'll all decide together of what time to, that's why I mentioned the property. That's something that's probably, it's time to sell some and it's time to buy some in the near future. But together we'll all decide how them steps go and at what point. It'll take a long time to bond and get things ready to go. And so at what point, at what number of students do we pull each trigger as we go along? Todd's got a question.
Yeah, I'm just in line with what you're talking about, President. Is I was just assuming we've got some properties that we're prepping for sale. And Superintendent, you said that the reality is we may be behind the 8 ball on purchasing or plotting a piece of property, and so I assume outside of that 20-year plan, we probably should or could start working on acquiring that property as soon as possible.
Absolutely, you got it.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm not sure where we're at on that. I know you presented, Jason, last time on where those properties were. I think it's ready for.
Yeah, we need to act, and you know, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen with prices and all of that. Some speculate it might go down, probably not. It's, you know, and really relatively, ground is probably cheaper today than it's going to be down the road and compared to other places in Utah. So I think we need to get serious about that process. So.
Something you can be thinking about, board members. It will get really emotional. You have one. We all know where our high school's at now. Do you build one just down the street? Do you build one on the east side of town, the south, the north? And so no matter what we do, there will be people that have opinions, rightfully so, that's fine, but all things that you can be thinking of and rolling around in your head. I took way more than my share time. Robin, your turn.
I'm actually gonna, another facilities thing, thanks to Jason for getting all those deeds and that map, that was great. So he showed us where all those were, and then,
Some people won't know. Robin, would you please explain? We now have deeds, go a little farther with it, to all of our property.
right, so we know, and mapped, so we know exactly what we own. It's good to know what we have, right, before you can sell. So anything's legal and buttoned up that way. I's are crossed, or T's are crossed, I's are dotted. Also, just the track at UMS we talked about, we're working on that, just FYI. Yeah, so for bid for the track at UMS. So just, we had talked about that before. Just for the committees I sit on, Uintah Schools Foundation, this is for the principals actually. If you have any teachers that need things in their classroom, they're even looking at maybe doing consumables, I know that they would love proposals. They're due on Monday. So just if you have any teachers, then the fall proposals are due by Monday at 5 p.m. USBA, okay, I don't know where you guys feel about on this, but if you guys could really do the continuing education that we have to do. So this month, the challenge is school community councils training. So you just get on USBA, you go to the Power Up. It's not hard, it's your first initial last name, and then I'll tell you the password later. Okay, so anyway, it's easy though, and get that it only takes honestly 15 minutes, and then you take the test. And if we all do it, we get in a drawing. I like contests. I would love for us to get a 20 for a gift certificate for dinner. So I'm just saying.
You'll get a better response out of some of us board members, Robin,
If
if
I
you send
take
us
you to
an
dinner?
email.
Yep, send us an email or a text.
I did. Okay, I'll send it one more time. All right, I'll do that again.
It didn't have the password in it.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, but mine didn't work.
Yeah.
But I've
Okay,
got
so
to
then you
call-
gotta call Megan Mendez
Yeah,
at
I'm waiting for her to
USBA.
call me back.
All right.
Okay, she's great. All right, that was for you guys all, and then just policy committee that we sit on. We'll be going through all those policies today. We've got like 4 or 5 for first reading, and then 4 for second reading. So that's really all I need to know. We have a great committee. Everyone's represented, and people work really hard in that committee, and we appreciate Ms. DeLynn and all she does for that committee. So I think I have other stuff, but I think that's it.
Tanya?
Well, Robin's already covered the policy committee for me, and the other thing I did this month, I'll talk about a little later, the JLC meeting that we went to, and Jason was there, and it was good, so.
Thank you. Denise?
So I'm on the risk committee, but we don't meet until the 20th.
Next week.
Yeah, so no update on that. And then Todd's over the audit stuff, so,
Scoot.
I'm just waiting for the auditor.
okay. But yeah,
Jason isn't, they're here.
I was gonna say, we're right in the middle of the audit,
yeah,
correct?
right in the middle of audit.
And
Field work.
you made the statement that we may be hearing from them?
Yeah, the audit committee, yeah, well, at any time, they may grab one of you.
Yeah, so I know in the past they've reached out, that doesn't sound. They did reach out and ask some questions, and so it was fairly simple, so.
Any other reports you have, Todd?
We skipped our financial committee meeting this month because we've been doing so good. But we do have some policies that we need to review on, obviously on the financial side of it, and one of those, the biggest one I've been receiving calls on, I assume other board members have been, is fundraisers, and so we'll kind of have some time to go through that today, so. That's all I have, President.
Thank you, Todd. Scoot?
I have nothing. Our risk management meeting is later in the month, so.
How'd things go at Discovery opening? Opening week is usually horrendous for traffic and stuff. How did we make it safety-wise and?
I think we want to hear from Tammy, probably almost first and foremost, right?
Well, it's like, we have more kids this year, so it's more traffic, and I think the first and foremost. I have some neighbors that complained to one of my aides that they're blocking their driveway, and I said, well, that's not me, we have to call the police, because they're parking in their driveway, I can't control everything, and this seemed really mean compared to me.
I usually get a bunch of telephone calls on that, and then I didn't get one telephone call this year, so I wondered if it went better, or?
I've only had one person.
We're still doing the same thing, or you got one person?
Just one.
So I have received a couple of phone calls, and help me out with this. Do we just ask for volunteers on
Oh, that one.
crossing?
So we got that, yes, we did, that's all we can do, because
So we can't,
the city, I talked to the city and everything, nobody, they can't, we're not a throwaway road, that 500 is not, so they said we had to cover it. Well, I had parents that said they weren't gonna do any more, but then I had a mom that found out, and she's created it, so she's out on that 500. I had another parent
Robin Wood.
train,
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
they're doing it, so they're covering it now.
They're covering it, but, you know,
We train, but that's all you do.
we train, but
We have-
we unable to pay those individuals something? That's why I'm curious, is, have we ever offered pay for that position or?
So there's a couple of caveats with that is, we actually as a school district cannot stop traffic. So they can't really be our employees. So now in our parking lots, absolutely, but as far as outside on 500, we work together with the city on that. But as of right now, we can.
Well, I was just curious. I know I spent some time in Colorado, and my daughter-in-law, at 3 whatever, had to get it. She got her orange vest on and her sign, and off she went. And I said, "What do you volunteer for that?" And she says, "They offered to pay us. They pay me 2 hours a week or 2 hours a day to do guard crossing." I was like,
So if it's a furrow road and they have the flashing lights, those crossing guards can get paid. And the city will cover them. But I'm not a
But
furrow.
you're not?
You
So-
did a survey and I don't make it on that road. That's why they lowered the limit to 25. So now we just use volume.
"How do they not determine that?" All right, so it sounds like we need to visit with the city a little bit on that as well. We can do that.
Are you in Vernal City?
Yes.
Is Discovery and
Yes.
Differ?
So the mayor's the switch and everything, but I used to attend a lot of meetings, I did all that
Mhm.
extra stuff. I had a mom that was heading up and I went to all the meetings with them. And it just was
Hmm.
So that was their solution was. And then we took the buses off, because we used to have the buses on the road, and the city let me close the road, I had the signs, and they allowed that. And then we did it, because, it was not a good safety thing, so we have the extra bus, and it's full, so thank you guys for the.
Extra bus.
Yeah, it's full,
really-
it's really full, so the people are
That's-
using it from Quellbrook and the voters down the road. So we're doing that, and that has helped, but, and I have actually, in kinder, I have more busing kids than I do walking kids. So that's a key that I'm not accepting everybody that comes to my school, because everybody says that, but I have more kids than I bus.
Wow.
So I'm not really prepared to speak a lot about school boundaries and all of that. However, the issue here at this point is that school is beyond capacity.
That's
It's
the
full.
reality.
And that's part of the issue that we're faced with right now.
Yeah, when I saw your numbers, I was thinking.
It's now surpassed Uintah Middle School as our third largest school.
And they're continuing to build behind Jason's house, so.
Yeah. there's
Two
multiple-
new subdivisions, I think, planned for that area.
One by 12 Road.
So I'll say it, I can get my fingers chopped off. Sooner or later, we're gonna have to make a boundary change out there. We just don't have and that's never popular. But board members, you
So-
might as well prepare for it. It's coming
So
in the
I know we
future.
need to have a discussion, but does that have to do with the Spanish?
Yeah, so our options are to look at the boundaries and to change somehow what we do with DLI. And that could involve, I'm not saying we're gonna do this, please don't quote me on
Yeah.
this. But it could involve putting DLI in a different school, or it could involve adding another DLI program in a second elementary school. There are some options. We just need to look, because that contributes to that school being at capacity. But we have to act this year. We can't
that's
wait.
what I'm-
We
that's
can't
kinda what
wait
I'm hearing,
until
so.
May, to decide or figure out what we're doing. It needs to happen here pretty soon.
Yeah, so
And-
I have had a lot of thank yous on the busing from both Sunburst and Quellbrook, so that's a great thing, I think, as far as safety. Should have slowed, I would hope that would slow down the traffic. I don't travel that road because of the school zone, but I'm also curious as to, Mazer, they used to have lights, could we get lights? Those blinking lights, that's the fertile thing. So that's why I don't understand those, both 2,500, that road is, I guess it leads to somewhere, I don't know. They all lead to somewhere.
Leads to somewhere, yeah, we do.
So the 500 west has to be a furrow road to get this caution. I mean, there's a survey where they stand out there and see how many people go through. And it doesn't hit it. Well, I think they do it.
Yeah, they did it in 1920.
So that's the only reason I found that out. And that 2,500 they did a survey, they
Okay, we're gonna roll along, board members. When you get home, you're gonna get to thinking, we do have room in our other elementary schools. So we can move some, but when that question pops into your head,
Dave, I had one question,
okay?
and that, the safety of Discovery School. And from what I understood, as a school district, we cannot have crossing guards or anything on those streets. If this is the case, and we don't need none of our students run over or whatever, could we hire a couple of crossing guards to help it?
They tell us that we can't do that on Fifth West, correct? Is that what
Why?
Well, if we have to hire them.
That's what I'm saying. We could,
I don't know, that would be a risk management maybe.
So we had risk come out and do an assessment. We can't have discovery cones, discovery. Now, we could work with the city and draft an MOU to where we pay the city an amount, and then they take care of that.
they'd supply the crossing guards for
So
that.
We'd have to, well, in essence, we have to work through the city because they're the ones who can actually stop traffic, tell traffic what to do.
We need to because it's not if, it's when. And we're gonna have a terrible accident out there, and it's not gonna be good. So, let's please do it.
I'll work with the school.
Scoot, on your safety committee, maybe that's something you guys could get together and all of you visit some about and get on the agenda and set us a path to where we accomplish something with, keeping in mind that, like superintendent says, something's got to happen. We can't wait any longer. So next year we'll be a little lighter on numbers.
Okay.
Policy revisions. Jaime Leyva, policy 006. I'm not gonna read all them numbers every time. If somebody wants them, is that okay? You want me to do it, Dr. Lees? Okay. Policy 006.0150. No.
That's
Not hard.
library meeting.
Is that the library?
Yes.
There's
Yes.
a new number.
Yes, School Library Media Center.
It's a new policy. It's, so, what do we have here? So let me give you a little background on the policy. I don't know if, in the news last year, there was some controversy about library books, and I think we've heard a few issues, even, across the U.S., but specifically on the Wasatch Front. Part of the new policy is that we're required to really have a policy in place, and it says October 1, but this will be the first reading. It'll be really, hopefully, if we go to the second reading, it'll be our second board meeting. It's our next board meeting in October. And really what this policy calls for is just to be able to have a consistent selection process, have a consistent weeding process, have a consistent maintaining of curriculum process, of books process, and the fourth is to have a consistent process for not just book challenges or any material challenges that will go through the media center. Okay, so those are four things that hopefully the policy attempts to address. There are procedures that we're working on right now that aren't included in the policy, but Michelle Maxwell, been working with her at the high school to help train the media specialists across the district. And I think there's only one that hasn't been trained. She did a training the first week of school, I think the first PD day, on let's be consistent on how we select books, how we weed books, and how we maintain. And then once, if there are any challenges to any materials, how we'll go about having a consistent process so that it is reasonable for all parties. Do you have any questions?
I might.
Yes, please.
Just a couple things. One was, and this is more stuff maybe I should just take to the policy committee. So
Okay.
I apologize that I was not there this month, because I had other obligations. But, so one of my questions was, at the end of 1.1, it says the policy also outlines the framework of identifying materials for restrictions or removal from libraries due to sensitive materials, which is not allowed by Utah code. Oh, no, that's not what I was looking at. Basically, I just thought, the word selection's in there once, but the first like 3 times I read 1.1, I thought this was just about removal. And I guess I just wondered if we could put some language in there that makes it a little more clear that it's also about following these guidelines when we select. Does that make sense?
Yes, so what happened was there was a model policy that was created,
Mm-hmm.
and the model policy was created kind of a middle-of-the-road policy that was very, anyway, it was created for another district who was going through some litigation. And so I didn't see that as appropriate for us, and so I can definitely add the details. And so what you're saying is add details on, it's not just about challenges, but it's all about, also about the selection, the
Yeah.
weeding, and the weeding is not the correct word, it's removal basically, and then
Yeah.
also the maintaining. I can add that.
Yeah, that would be good. And then I didn't know, and this was, I'm not sure what I think about this, but I went to, so I like that you referenced the Utah code, and then I went to that code and it references several other codes, and so we
Mhm.
can't obviously include all of that, but a definition of sensitive material might be helpful, because it wasn't what I thought when I read it.
So I thought about that, right?
Yeah,
So I'm not
yeah.
sure where to go. It references everything from pornography to,
Yeah, it's pretty extensive.
it's like, you open one door and then you
Yeah.
have to go to another door and answer the next questions. And so what I have is I pulled, this is the
All of them?
reference to sensitive materials. There has to be a better way to explain it in the policy. I just haven't figured a good way
What that is, I
to
kinda had the same
explain
thought.
it without actually putting all of these definitions in the policy. So,
Yeah. No,
Maybe-
like I
maybe-
said, I liked that you referenced it, and I realize we can't include all of that, but it might be a good idea to just put a basic idea, but also say extensive.
sure,
There's a lot
I
more
can,
to
I
it.
can
I
try
don't
to
know.
add something because honestly, I didn't feel good. I didn't know how to approach this piece
Yeah,
without having a 12-page policy.
yeah.
You might
Okay.
want to just reference the state's definition, just make it simple, just reference it.
It's not that, I
Well,
wish it were
the
that
state
clean.
the
There's
state has a
there's-
definition, and you go there, and then it references two
We'll
other
reference another
policies where they
definition,
define
and then
more
I-
of it, and they say, including these policies and their definitions, and then you go there, and there's a couple more. And so there is a lot to it. But I think I got the basic
Okay.
gist of what I went to in my notes on the back of my page. I don't think we need all that either, but,
Okay, I'm gonna write that down, so.
anyway.
Robin?
So this is also probably for policy committee, but we just need to tighten up, and I didn't let you guys know, 2.1.1.3 talks about one parent from the school community councils, and then on 4.1.2, I don't know if that's two different committees, then it says two parents.
There are two different committees.
Right, okay, so,
There's a school committee and then
For
there's a
the-
district level
okay.
committee.
okay, so I probably just need to read that more.
So the school committee, what we're saying is, now, by the code, if you read the code, it says that committee has to have representation. Basically, you need to have a parent or somebody who represents the community. What I wanted to do is make sure that at least a parent is from the community council, but at district level, at least two parents, and and I think both have to be chairs of the community, of a community
Okay,
council.
so I just need to.
Maybe I can word
Oh,
that
no,
better,
I-
but there's two levels, and so
Yeah,
if
okay.
something happens at the school level, and they don't like that decision, then it will go to a district level committee.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to interject. So right now, it doesn't reference the chair. It just says two community council members. I would suggest that we do have that be chairs, and the reason why is those chairs are actually elected, and what that does is it takes Jaime off the hot
Chairs,
seat
got
of
it, got it.
who did you select? Did you handpick those people? No. The parents selected those people, so we have a good representation of our community, and I think for you know the well-being of our administration, I feel strongly that it should be
Chairs.
a chair.
Okay, fair enough.
Can I just make one more
I'm
comment?
good with that.
No, that's two, Robin.
No, I think, I think our policy is great, and I mean, it's it's a work in progress, but I just want to read this I think this is 3.1.2.1. I just really think this nails it, and I don't know if this was from the model, but the district recognizes the right of parents under state law to restrict their child's access to materials the parent deems inappropriate. However, parents do not have the right to make the determination on behalf of other parents and students. A parent desiring to restrict their own child's access to specific library materials shall contact the school's media specialist. I really think that's fantastic. So,
It's also important to remember, though, that sometimes there are things that are sensitive in nature that probably aren't just affecting one person too, you know? So there are some things that's why this committee,
If
Yeah.
it's sensitive
There would be a
material, it
purpose
doesn't
for it, yeah.
matter, it can't,
Yeah.
it cannot belong there.
yeah.
But I didn't write that, I stole that from
that's great.
somebody
I was
else.
giving you a
wrote
lot
that.
of
Yeah, well, I wrote some
Jaime,
of
I
it.
thought I'd taught you better than
I
to
know.
admit things like that.
You know what, I changed the wording a little bit, it said library, but I put school media, so how's that?
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, with that, we're gonna move on to number
Okay.
2.
Thank you.
Policy 004.0610, fundraising and donations. Our business administrator, Jason Johnson, will take that one.
Thank you, Dave. Make sure that my mic is nice and close. All right, so the recommendation here is that we approve this on first reading. It's gone through policy committee and is here for additional discussion and some background on this is each year our legal counsel, who also is the legal counsel for USBA, sorry, not USBE, USBA, put out model policies for us to make sure that we're up on the new regulations for different school, in this case, school fees, donations, fundraisers, things like that. So we were a little bit behind on that, so this is really taking their model policy and in reviewing prior, that's essentially how we've done our fundraising and donations for school-sponsored activities. So there's a couple of new things that are material to the policy as previously written, and I have those listed out. 3.15 or 3.15. This is brand new language, and it talks about receipt of donation will not affect participation by an individual student. And that is, you'll see that language a lot in the rules governing school fees and things like that. So that is bringing this policy in harmony with the new school fees rules. Section 6.1.2, this is a new section which details approval of fundraising projects. This new language, which comes from USBA and our legal team, would break up the approval process into 3 sections. So this gives the principal and their school administration a little bit more leeway up through $5,000 for fundraising. So they're able to approve things without having to go through the process of getting superintendent or myself or the board involved. Then anything between 5,000 and 10,000 and 50,000 can be handled with the superintendent's approval and the school administration's approval. And then the third, which would be 50 and up, would need to come all the way up to the board to get the board's approval. There's some, we've had some.
Jason, the policy, unless I'm misreading this, it's 1 to 10,000
Yeah, I may have misspoke on the 5,000.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I was,
one-
for some reason, I was stuck
Yeah,
on
you'd-
5,000.
You'd scratched the
That was
5
the
and moved it to 10.
Okay. So, yeah, that's where we're heading with that. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. And then for donations, the difference would be from 10,000 to 50,000. The business administrator would also have to sign off on approving those as well. So, those are some of the main material things that have changed. There's multiple other red lines you can see throughout the policy. Hopefully you've had a chance to review that ahead of time. I'm not, just for time's sake, I'm not gonna go through each and every one of them. I'll just address the questions that you guys have for them at this point. But just one final thought. We have received donations and fundraisers in the past. There's some stuff involved with this, with the new parts of the policy, and then just also the policy we've had already on the books that could really help us navigate some of those waters a little bit better. So it's been a great thing to review the policy and to bring it to the board for first reading. And with that, I'll take questions and we can have a discussion. Well, Dave, I'll turn it back to you.
Board members?
Could you maybe explain 3.15 to me a little bit
Yeah.
better?
It was gonna be my same question.
Which one, Tanya?
3.15, I'm not sure I'm understanding it correctly. So, explain how that would affect, so say I was on the football team and I was raising money to cover my fees, how would that affect me? Or any
So-
other sport or activity?
So if you don't mind, I'll just read it and then we can have a discussion. Donations will not be solicited or accepted in lieu of a fee from a student or parent unless the activity, class, or program for which the donation will be solicited will otherwise, without the donation, be fully funded by the district, and receipt of the donation will not affect participation by an individual student. So, trying to actually catch myself up here. So, you can't ever hold a donation or a fee over a student for participation. And we ought not be trying to get fees as well from parents unless the school district would fully fund them anyway. Is kind of how I read through that.
Is there a tax implication here? Because for a donation, you can deduct that, right, on your taxes. But you can't deduct money you spend for your kid to participate. So I wonder if there's,
Could be.
if there's
Depending on
actually
the-
a tax
It
issue there.
I don't
Who you're
believe
donating to.
so. Because
Right.
So, Jason, that is very confusing. That's still, at this point, it almost looks as though these kids that are out raising funds now, and in the hope that at some point, the funds they're raising will be able to be reimbursed for their fees, that almost says you can't do that.
Yeah, that's my confusion, because my
The way I
student's
read it, too,
doing
and
this
so-
right now, so I'm,
And so, and then it's obvious the participation, what I'm confused by is if the school would pay for that anyway, we can't charge for,
no, you can, right?
we can't charge a fee based on what?
So you cannot solicit or accept in lieu of a fee. So
what is the purpose of this? Is it,
this is just from the legal counsel, so I just took it verbatim.
Yeah, that's.
because I think we do
that's a
this a
tough one.
lot, so I'm confused, is it necessary that this is in here?
I think it is. There's a difference. So to me, what this says is that, you can't go to the school and say, look, my kid has raised X amount of money, or here's a donation, but now I've given you this donation, I'm not paying the fee. I think that's what this says. Okay, the school's not gonna accept the donation in lieu of the fee. You still have to pay the fee, right? If there's going to be a reimbursement or anything of that nature, then I think there can be, but,
So if my student sells tickets to the play, and that can cover their fee, or no?
So that's an individual fundraiser, not a donation.
That's different. That's not
Oh,
the
okay,
parent donating
that's
the money.
where I was lost,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
Maybe we need definitions
Yeah, I
at
think,
the top of this.
I really
Do
think
we-
it's a tax issue, Jason.
do we have-
I think this is more of a tax issue, I really do.
I do
And-
too.
so when I read through this, I was more focused on the latter half, which is you can't hold somebody, like, you can't bring participation into,
So-
donations or fundraisers, things like that.
So
It's
these
not a tax
donations
issue for us, it's a tax issue for the IRS.
for the IRS, yeah, because they're not
It's a
getting their
loophole.
portion of it.
Yeah.
But it sounds as though donations such as what we're talking about is a fundraiser, but you mentioned a personal fundraiser or a group fundraiser. Those are donations, but not at the same as what this is talking about. I just don't know how you clarify what this
What-
donation is.
Could we simply add a part there that said that this doesn't exclude personal fundraising?
Could do.
Or club fundraising, or however you want to put it.
Yeah, I
Club
think
and
we
team.
can clarify that.
Yeah,
Just
we maybe
a way to
should.
clarify it there, because it does, when I read it at first, I thought the same as you. I thought, well, that means that those donations they get really can't go towards their fees, which, in talking with Les, that was what their,
Yeah, I
We're
think the
hoping to do.
intent is, my dad can't donate $200 and then say, well, the fee's covered.
yeah. And I can't, as a company, say, I've donated $5,000, now I don't want my kids to be charged a fee. It's just not the same.
Well, and there is a tax issue there, right?
Yeah.
Even if I'm just, maybe it's a $50 fee, I'm gonna donate $50 and call it, now I'm gonna take that $50 and write it off. Can't do that. So that's obvious, right? So I think that's why it's in
Are
here.
you sure? I've been writing those off my whole life.
Would it help under the definitions part if we did some more definitions? like
Yeah. We'll
Donation,
get some
fundraiser,
clarification on
yes,
this.
okay.
Okay, any other questions for Jason?
Just
All right.
don't let the attorneys get to these, because they're really long. They do. Just kidding.
Okay, with that being said, we're gonna move on to number 4. Jason, do you want to discuss that more before, or?
No, I think,
Yeah.
I think we'll handle it in policy and come with a better thing, but yeah, the matter's not quite settled, but that's okay.
Yeah. Okay, number 4, policy 007.0245, discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. Mindy Merrill.
I'm stepping in for Mindy.
Oh,
Hi.
hello
I
Mindy.
had one more.
She's at
Yeah,
tennis,
yeah.
I think.
Did
Oh,
I skip
we-
one?
Did we do both yours or no?
Oh,
Okay.
Another
Six, one,
fundraising policy.
This is almost a wash, rinse, and repeat, but there's a little bit of difference.
I'm sorry, Jason. I gotta draw better lines.
Yeah, it looked the same,
Yeah.
Dave, that's why.
There's not gonna be a lot of difference, just in, so this is non-sponsored, non-school sponsored activities. So in 3.0, this is new, just reinforces, the duty to act ethically with private businesses and maintain separation between private and school district funds and interests. We do need to be careful about this, because that line can be closely, like, the road goes right along the cliff edge at times there, so you just gotta make sure that all 4 tires are on the road, right? That you're not drifting off. So it is important that it seems obvious, but when you're in the middle of a donation or a fundraiser, you just gotta make sure that you're following policy here. So 4.4, that's added, the district will consult with its insurer or legal counsel to ensure risks are adequately considered and managed. So if there's anything that deals with facilities or other legal, has legal consequence, that we will actually reach out before accepting some of those. And then 4.6.1, added. Business administrator shall provide a monthly report of donations greater than $5,000 to the Uintah School Board of Education. So that's just reinforcing the policy there, which you guys should be seeing on the monthly board update as well. So those are some of the main concerns there. I'll turn it over for questions.
Shauna, I've messed us up. We're working on 004.0611. Okay, questions? Board Member Todd?
Yeah, Jace, I'm kind of backing up to the other. This looks like a little bit different, but backing up, either or, I guess you could put it in there. You talk a little bit about risk in here, and I was looking forward in the other item, and I didn't see the risk. I'm just concerned about cash donations and the risk of cash donations. Did I miss it in here somewhere?
Yeah, so it would have been under the prior policy. You're talking about like risks to the district and financial risks,
as well as
insurance, things like that. Yeah, that is under. It's in this policy, in the previous policy that we were talking about, and it's under administrative guidelines. Trying to find where it's at, but talks about how we will not do high pressure. I think it's 3.7, but it was already in. It's already in policy, so it's just we will in 3.7 of the prior policy that we're talking about involve high pressure sales tactics, yield profits in excess. Would expose students and other participants in fundraising activity to risk of personal injury, would expose the school or district to risk of financial loss if the fundraising activity is not successful, or would violate law or district policy. So that helps us, should help everybody who manages fundraisers understand that you got to take into account the risk to the student, the financial risk to the district. Is that what you were asking, Todd?
Yeah, so if we do allow cash fundraisers, let's take band, for instance. That's the chocolate sales, I believe, is strictly a cash type sell. Some of those kids I noticed at the game the other night are packing an awful lot of cash. That seems to put both us and the child or the student at risk. I'm not sure how that policy, is it something we need to write and say no cash? I mean, what do we write into policy to really kind of navigate that risk? It just seems to be, I'm not saying we can't have cash donations, because there's a lot of other little things, from penny donations, the bottles, and all those things that we do. But it's just how do we govern that risk? How many? I mean, these kids sometimes are packing quite a bit of money in that little, they pull it out and drop 4 or 5 bills down. It's just, there's some risk there. I just don't know how we write that in. Is that the risk? That sounds like it's at the risk of that individual, those groups that are doing the fundraising.
Yeah, I mean.
But it comes back to the school district as a whole.
So here's a hypothetical. Somebody's watching the middle schooler collect a whole bunch of cash at the football game. Nefarious actor sees how much money this kid's packing around, and they go and they just come in and take all the cash, right? There's a concern. That's a risk, and from a business point of view, a risk. One of the risk people in our district, I would consider that risky unless you came up with like a mitigating control or process.
Yeah, a grab and run's one thing, but if it's run over you and grab.
Could be worse, right?
It could be worse. That's why I'm just curious. It just seems like we're putting some of these young folks at risk. So. I really don't know how to write that in.
Well, I think it's written in. It's just we need to.
Yeah.
To maybe in procedures we handle some of that type of stuff.
Sounds like a procedures type thing is more of what we're looking at. I agree.
That gives the person presenting the fundraiser the ability to come up with a plan to mitigate those risks and still manage a fundraiser, still involve the kids. But it's something that needs to be thought of, like, it needs to be thought through.
Yeah, and this new fundraiser, or the method that some of the clubs or teams are using today is kind of I got a few calls on how it was being done, and it's a much safer process. It's an email, it's a credit card, it's nothing changes hands. There's not a product that their kids are out packing around to take a risk at losing or anything. But yet, it also has no value for giving money risk. But I will really like the fact that it eliminates, it calculates exactly what each participant is getting and gives a value or a total of what the team's earned and everything. If we could come up with that for these cash fundraisers, I'd be so happy, but I don't know how you come up with that method. I mean, I think that's got some risk for us as well as people complaining that, we're sending more money to the school district without getting anything of value, but still, that's a great method for getting donations without putting the students at risk. So, just some thoughts. I don't know. Policy, procedure. That sounds like a procedure type thing.
Yeah, we could even buy some square credit card things to where that student could just, here's a credit card. All right, well, we're not gonna, I'm just thinking out loud.
Just
Get the cash out of the kids' hands.
Yep, I agree. Thank you.
I definitely agree that it's procedure and not policy. Where to find safety boundaries for that. Maybe we'll lie with our high school principal and our middle school principals to kind of look at that and be mindful as they go along. I don't know. That's what I don't know how else you handle it from there.
Yeah, when you're looking at the approval of anything 10,000 and above or what district level, then that becomes the superintendent's responsibility.
Hey, I'm happy about this though, because that threshold is a lot different. Right now I sign off on everything.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And the reality is the building principals, they know a lot more about the specifics of those fundraisers than I do.
Yeah, I think this
is a good thing. It needs to be on them.
That part does need to be put on them, and I agree. Hey, we always say at work, it's who's going to jail, and so it sounds like the principal now.
All of a sudden, we're going to jail. Okay, if we're all done, can we move along?
Yeah, we can, sorry.
I wanted to skip that policy in the first place. You guys wouldn't let me. Okay. Number 4, policy 007.0245. Dr. Lees.
Hi. I'm stepped in for Mindy. She's at Region Tennis in the rain. So this is a new policy. We do have a workplace discrimination and harassment policy for our employees. This one's specific to students for discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. This is on first reading. There's new state mandates that address discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. This policy was created after a model policy. And after you approve it on first reading, we'll circulate this out to the district. Questions?
I had one.
Yeah.
Why does 3.1 exclude sexual harassment?
That's a good question. I don't remember discussing that at policy committee, other than that
It
Goes
doesn't,
to
let me be
that
clear, it
additional
doesn't exclude
policy,
it.
yeah.
It does not exclude it.
Goes to another policy.
yeah.
I'm confused.
That policy that it references there,
So it has a separate
007.0235.
policy for it? Is that what we're saying?
No, I'm saying that sexual harassment falls under the umbrella of harassment. So it's not inherently excluded because it's not specifically mentioned, right?
But it
Oh, it does
specifically,
say
Yeah, it
it
does.
specifically
Sorry.
says excluding sexual harassment, so is there a purpose for that? Why do we exclude
defined,
sexual
We have more
harassment?
detailed
I
policy.
thought maybe there was a reason that it.
Good question, but. we
That
have-
wording doesn't make sense either,
Yeah.
in the parentheses,
Mm.
excluding sexual harassment as defined in, include, but are not limited to.
We do have a full policy on sexual
Yes,
harassment.
there is.
of
It's
and by
true.
students.
We should probably look at that closer. I
Maybe,
guess,
or
and
maybe we
then-
just need to
Yeah,
change
in
that
policy
wording so that
committee.
it's not misleading.
Yeah, because it is a little misleading. I
Yeah.
see what she's saying.
Yes.
It does refer to that, obviously, that policy, but that policy would oversee whatever is in this
Yeah.
policy. That's the way I see it, but.
We probably just need to change that wording so it's not confusing. And just reference the policy that's more detailed for sexual harassment. Okay, I'll make a note of that.
Hey, Ms. Lynn, too,
Yeah.
as I read through it again, and I know, I think we have a gap that we just maybe need to fill as parental notification. Where do we talk about that? Or maybe I was reading the other policy about, anyway, I feel like once it's been vetted and we know it's a legit thing, I think there needs to be some part about parental. And maybe that's procedural also. I don't know. It's just something that came to my mind as I read
Okay.
it.
I have sent this policy to legal to
Okay.
have them look at it and see if there's anything that we're missing.
Okay.
So hopefully I'll
just
hear
we can
back to
talk-
them, from them before we have our next policy
Okay.
committee as well, and we can note anything that they've had,
That's what we thought.
yeah.
Any other questions, board members?
No, these are challenging policies. I mean, it really gets you to where you just don't dare say anything to anybody.
And there is procedure with Title IX, and some of this would fall under Title IX, so, you know, Student Services and HR handle those Title IX situations together, depending on the circumstances. So maybe a reference to that, Title IX might also be helpful here, so I'll look at that too.
Thank you, Dr. Lees.
Yeah, the next to our mine, so I'll just stay at it.
Item B, policies for approval on second reading. Number 1 is policy 005.0550, volunteering in district schools. Dr. Lees.
So remember, before we bring them to you for second reading, they've been circulated through the district to all employees, and the committee's looked at them twice. I've got a lot of positive feedback on this one, actually, especially from our foster grandparents and our volunteer brigade, that because we haven't had a volunteer policy prior to this, so this is a new policy. And were a couple typos, Robin. I got those, so I'll correct those. But if there's any questions or concerns, we're ready to pass this on second reading tonight if you are.
Board members, any questions, comments?
Oh, Denise, you see I added we added the 2.2, there was some concern. I was glad Jason was at our last committee meeting, because we were talking about balancing we don't want to deter volunteers, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we're not accepting undue risk and that our kids are protected, so we added a definition in there. Where we expect individuals to be in the proximity and line of sight of another background checked individual at all times, if they're a visitor or school helper.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Lees.
Okay.
I think that's your last one.
Oh, I got one more.
Oh, do you? Did I skip again?
No, you're right, you're right.
To the right.
Policy 005, you making me read all these numbers must have me messed up. 005.215 concealed weapons in schools, second reading.
Okay, this policy is on second reading. You'll notice this is an 005 policy, so again, that's for personnel. The Safe Schools policy is what governs weapons for students. This is 005 for personnel, bringing concealed weapons in schools. This was circulated, Robin, I have noted the typo that you emailed me. And then I would just point you to 2.5, that's the biggest change here. That addition at the end, and then taking out the word students, because we have a different policy that governs students and weapons in schools.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask this because it doesn't make sense in my world. I'm
Okay.
sure after you explain it will.
Okay.
Cover or secrete a firearm. What does secrete mean?
Where are you at?
In your 2.5, in the new added on.
Secreted.
Secreted. Okay, what does it still mean?
In secret.
Okay. Okay.
Secret, a firearm. Cover.
It's in 3.3, is that where you're looking? A dangerous
Two
weapon?
point five, the new
2.5.
read, it says, district property may not be used to hide, cover, or secret a firearm.
Is our numbering right? 3.0, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, and then it goes.
That should be 3.5.
That should be 3.5 on the back page. Yeah, you're right.
So 3.5 is what
Sorry,
we're
yeah.
talking about?
Says 2.5 on mine.
It does say
Yes,
2.5.
it should be 3.5. You're correct, the
Okay.
red.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back to where we got that wording from. My guess is it's in the model policy.
I'm
High
not saying
cover
it's
or
wrong.
secret
I'm
a
not saying it's
firearm.
wrong, Dr. Lees,
Mhm.
just didn't mean much to me.
The question is the word necessary when we have hide, cover, or secret a firearm?
Yeah, it means something different.
Yeah, conceal.
Well, you can conceal a firearm, that's what
Hide
you're
or
trying to do.
cover.
is
That's
conceal.
true.
Just not on the, it has to be on your
Yeah.
person.
It can
On
be
the person.
lawfully concealed, yeah.
Yeah, conceal. I've never heard that word.
Do we wanna let?
So the question is, do you,
We have a, Dean might
Dean?
have something.
I was looking at that. It is secret, yeah.
it says secreted in one place, and then
But
it
the
also
verbiage is
says
different
secret in
both
3.5.
places, so it wouldn't make sense to say secret.
Dean's saying that is the wording that's in Utah code.
Yeah,
So we
I just looked
matched
it up,
Utah
sorry, that's
code.
what that
Oh,
mumbo
that's
jumbo
what,
was.
that's what she was telling you? Siri was telling you?
Siri was telling me what it was.
Okay.
It is the actual wording.
This is the actual wording in Utah code.
So let's stay with,
So we should keep, yeah, I agree.
stay with our code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, I'm like Dave, I'm not sure.
Just so you know, Utah code writers don't always know what they're doing either.
It is a strange word too, yeah.
Uh-oh, superintendent's gonna
really
hit me now.
necessary.
Is it okay if I
Sure.
just, I have a question, Mr.
'Kay.
Lynn. So, as I've read through, I'm not sure that it's clear in this policy that to be within the law, you still have to have a concealed weapons permit to conceal a weapon on school property.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's clear.
That's a good point. I thought it was higher, but I was gonna ask that.
It is required on school property.
Yeah, it references a permit, but it doesn't say that it's required.
Mm.
Yeah, the only implication is in 3.5 where it says a lawfully concealed firearm must be.
We probably should state that.
I think we should be clear so our employees specifically know that they have to have a permit to
The concealed, yeah.
conceal a weapon on school property.
Yeah.
So, look at 3.4. Shall we just add a strong statement at the end of 3.4?
Must obtain.
Who
Yeah.
obtained concealed
Employees of Uintah School
Must
District who
obtain.
obtain concealed weapon permits do so in their own individual.
Yeah, in fact, 3.3 almost makes someone believe that they have the option of having a permit, because it says may.
May receive.
So it's really confusing.
Should we?
Maybe it should say must.
Or just
Yeah.
We
figure
could
that
just say
out?
the law provides that a qualified person must receive a permit to carry a concealed firearm for lawful self-defense
On school property.
On school
on
property.
school property, yeah.
Yeah, may is definitely
Yeah.
that gives you an option of out.
Yeah, the may comes from the Utah code for general use for concealing weapons, right? Because it's not required anymore on outside of school property. You can conceal a weapon without a permit.
Yeah,
in Utah.
17 states now that way, so.
Yeah.
So.
Can we fix this wording and still
So-
pass it tonight, or what?
You can pass it on, oh, this is second reading, so
Yeah, this is
I-
second reading.
Yeah, see here.
You would have to, yeah, you would have to say with the addition of the wording on school property and changing, you'd have to
Just
include
strike
that
the
in
word
the
may.
motion, yeah.
May to must.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're gonna do that, you have to also specify school property.
Yeah, so if you would need to say in 3.3, strike may and change it to must, and then at the end, add on school property. At the end of 3.3, with those two changes.
Tanya, are you making notes? Are you gonna make them changes so you can make that motion for us?
Yep, that's what I'm doing. So
Okay,
we're
let's
doing
give-
this on 3.3, right?
On 3.3, you'll strike the word may and change it to must.
Maybe you have to add,
And add on school property.
Okay.
after to carry a concealed firearm for law,
Mm-hmm.
on
Mhm.
school property.
Concealed firearm for lawful defense at
On-
on school property.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then what about 3.4, is that good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if that's stated, and then we have to change the number 2.5 to 3.5.
yeah, I have that little edit.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'd already almost want must receive or must obtain a permit to go along with that next paragraph.
Do you want to say must obtain?
Yeah. I would think instead of must receive, must obtain.
You okay with that, Dr. Dees?
Mhm.
There's actually a misconception around the state that a teacher can pack without a concealed weapon because
Any law?
yeah, and I'm glad that we're clarifying this because we'd hate to see somebody get themselves in trouble.
Yeah, I really wish we could require training, but you
But-
stated last time that we
Yeah.
can't, we don't even get to know who's carrying.
Yeah, there's
but
two
the,
issues. One, the reason why that word secret was used is that you're really not concealing if somebody knows you're concealing. Then it's really not concealed, right? I mean, that's an important part is being anonymous in your, or you know, being able to conceal without having to tell your employer. So, so that's important, and we risk that. But the other issue is risk management has informed school districts that we cannot do the training because then we're liable,
Yeah.
which sounds harsh, but really it should be, you know, a law enforcement entity, people whose job is to do that should be doing the training.
Yeah, I drove by a school in Colorado that's had a big sign that stated they do have carry permits on all of their teachers. in that school. I thought that's interesting when
That
you look
is.
at our law, where we have to hide that. I wondered why. And then they state that they've never had a school shooting in any of their district.
Neither is the state of Utah.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah,
that's,
we're like-
that's
I
bad.
do think
but-
the last sentence of this policy does make me feel more comfortable too. It says therefore employees must use good judgment and strictly follow the law in this policy. So we are
Well, that's what I say, the law has
requiring
changed,
them
so-
to follow the
So I
law,
think that's where
so,
that comes from, is that law has changed, that now you can
Yeah.
have a weapon without concealment.
so with that sentence and then the
Concealed
addition
without-
of those, or changes of those words, I think we're okay.
Does that permit have to state on it that you carry on school property?
Say that again?
The
Carry
concealed
permit.
weapon permit that you have now, does it have to state on the permit you can carry it on school property?
No, no. Anyone that has a concealed weapons permit can legally conceal a weapon on school property in Utah.
Over the age of 21, right?
What's that?
Over the age of 21.
Sorry, I still.
Over the age of 21, right?
That's correct, I believe,
Yeah,
yes.
it may have changed to 18 this year.
I don't think so. I think I looked at that when we did this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
On
think that's
school
right.
property,
I
it
know a
was
student cannot conceal a weapon.
I think it might have changed to 18, but not on school property. Maybe. Seems like we looked all that up when we did this the first time.
Any other questions? Okay, we're gonna truck along then. Thank you, Dr.
Thanks.
Lees. Dr. Wilson will present for second reading, policy 007.0915, evaluation of interscholastic athletic participation.
So this is a policy that is drafted for the purpose of ensuring equity within our sports. At the beginning of each school year, we'll work collaboratively with the high school to ensure that the athletic director goes through for male and female designated sports and mixed sports categories and basically decide if there's a 10% discrepancy. If so, what is the plan to rectify that? And then identify practice and game locations to ensure that we have equity and access to equal spaces for both boys and girls sports. Any questions?
I love the length of this one.
Try to
Yes.
keep them to one page or less, except for that military policy.
Any questions for Dean from the board members?
This is first reading, right?
Second.
Or passing. If-
Okay, don't leave us.
No.
No, item number 4, policy 007-0920, participation in sex-designated athletic activities and teams.
Basically, this just states that a student of the male sex may not compete with the team or in an athletic activity designated for students of the female sex in an interscholastic athletic activity. That is the main purpose of this particular policy.
This is also based on statute change.
Yeah, this is straight from Utah code and model policy.
Questions, board member, comments? Okay, number 5, policy 007-0925, admissions and attendance of military children. Second reading also.
So appreciate Robin's general policy statement request. That definitely helped to kind of clear up what this is for. Really, the intent is to add institutional safeguards for the enrollment records, placement, and graduation of military children. This is an extensive policy because these situations tend to be unique and oftentimes will be handled on a one-to-one basis with this policy as the guiding document for how we best serve these students. If someone is deployed, if somebody has a death in the family from a military experience, we want to ensure that we are doing everything we can to make that child's experience as seamless as possible. If there is a dependent that they are leaving, or if there's guardianship of a child that they are leaving while deployed, we want to make sure that we are doing what we can to make sure that student stays in the same place or similar place if possible. So that's really the intent of this policy.
Just a comment, I just think this policy really has the best interest of the student in mind. It's very flexible. It really takes care of the student. So I appreciate that we're getting this policy in our wheelhouse.
Absolutely.
Other questions or comments? Okay. Number 6, policy 007.0905, period products in schools. And this is second reading also.
You'll like the length of this policy as well. We're basically going to provide period products free of charge to students in each female or unisex restroom in each elementary, middle, junior high, and high school or other facility used by students. Those have been installed, stocked, and are in use right now.
Questions or comments, board member?
Just Jason, this actually for you down the line. What's our process going to be, or what's our what am I trying to say? What's our strategy for tracking how we're going to? Because the bill, when you go to the bill, it talks about you have to have it by 2015 in your capital operations and O&M and maintenance budgets no later than July. So what's our plan?
We're gonna fundraise.
Are you gonna
We're
fundraise?
Fundraise for it. I like that idea.
What's the plan?
So you,
You just budget, so we're gonna track the expenditures this year, and then we just budget in what we need to have. So on that policy, or on that statute, they're talking about that, like, I guess how formal of a process do they want? Because that's all we're doing is tracking by vendor, because that's who we're using.
By vendor.
Ant,
So not
And
each,
flow.
Ant Flow.
not each school is.
No, we are.
All right.
So maintenance makes the purchase, we track the vendor through, we know how much it's going to cost. Anything right now would just be a guess.
Yeah, right,
But yeah, that's how we're tracking.
for the whole year, and then we can.
If they want something more formal, I mean, I can draft something up, but that's how we're.
We have a couple years.
Nah, let's put it in the toilet paper budget and carry on. Doesn't need to be a big deal, does it?
It will be more expensive than what I anticipated for sure. So, how much more expensive, I'll let you know, but yeah. It's just the one vendor we're tracking them to.
Thank you.
You bet.
Item number 3, minutes, August 10th, 2022 work session and August 10th, 2022 business meeting. Jason Johnson.
Okay, we sent out the minutes at the beginning of this week, and we've made a couple of changes from the first time they were sent out. A couple of lines that were struck. Just as they read, they just didn't read towards the intent of how they were spoken. And you know, we do our best to try to condense the minutes and without losing context. And sometimes they just read a little funny, so we just made a couple of changes and asked those who actually who spoke the words just what they thought and different things like that. So those are the only changes to the minutes that were from the very beginning. So if you open up the first one and that's all you read, we made just a couple of changes to those. So, any questions on the minutes?
Shauna, are we as board members getting the changes to you quick enough that you have time to get your work done? Okay.
Yeah, I'd say though, just one quick comment. Yes. Just as you're reviewing the minutes, if you know you had a section where you had a lot of speaking to where we would have to essentially paraphrase what you're saying, if you wouldn't mind double checking, just to make sure that that rings to what you were saying, right? So, because we do our best, and we do make some judgment on the intent and things like that. So that'd be a good place to start. If you don't have a lot of time, just go to the places where you know that you were speaking or you had a vested interest in what was going on. Check those spots.
Okay. Number B, 3B, sex education curriculum, materials, Jaime Leyva.
Okay, here we go. So, every year the board has to approve this committee, and the committee's job is to approve any materials or guest speakers for the human sexuality curriculum every year. Now, in your memo, and thanks Robin for catching this, with our committee members, so you see where it says 2021-22, Ashley and Davis, they're not members this year. We have 2 members from Discovery and Eagleview that we've added and actually invited. And so, can I give you those names now? Because we'll have to have a meeting. We're having an open meeting next, I think on the 22nd of September with this committee. It's Aaron Harmon from Discovery and Shannon Usela from Eagleview. Those are the
Eagle View one once again, please.
Shannon Usela. And I'll get the memo out right. The district nurse is Meredith Manwaring. The health teacher is Philip Ketty from the high school, and then Diana Hearn from the middle school, Uintah Middle School. Actually, she's at the high school now. Oh.
Yeah.
So who's at the middle school?
I don't know.
Justin DeCall.
Little Justin.
The high school. Is it Uintah Middle School?
Mm-hmm.
So who's our health teacher then?
So it could be Sherry Henderson then, or Emily. I think it'll be Sherry Henderson then. I'll invite her. Scratch Philip Ketty. It'll be Diana Hearn. And then the 3 chairs are Jen Curtis, Hannah Kunkel, and Jennifer Ewing.
Is Jen Kerr still on, wait, is she still on UHS? I don't think she is.
I don't know. I mean, that's when we send this out, that's one of the challenges of having specific people on there from the committees, is that we got to wait every year for, so.
Principal, do you know who that is now?
Yes, we should pull for. We just had our,
She's the chair.
her chair.
But is she,
We just did that yesterday.
is she the designee though for this committee?
So she's the president.
Well, Jen was the committee chair.
Oh.
I'm just making an assumption between chair and president, and that we should
Mhm.
do that person then.
Okay. So I can get Leisha on there, but those are one of the challenges of having specific, it just depends on the timing of when they have the chair for the community council. So here's what I have. I have Meredith Manwaring, I have Diana Hearn, Sherry Henderson, Leisha Colthorpe, Hannah Kunkel, Jennifer Ewing, Aaron Hartman, and Shannon Usela. Do you have any questions about the committee?
Okay, I think we're good.
All right, good.
Dr. Leash, USD and LEA specific licenses endorsements.
So each year, in order to be in compliance with licensing, we bring names to you of people that we have hired who are teaching outside of their endorsed area. So you have the list. If you'll notice, 10 of those are interns, 4 are waiting for out-of-state license transferings, 2 are working on renewing expired licenses. So there's a variety of reasons why we ask for your approval of these LEA-specific licenses. We work very closely with these individuals to make sure that they get their licensing in line, and this will be on the consent calendar tonight for your approval for these 30 individuals. If they resign or if they leave our district, that LEA license is automatically removed, or they no longer have that. And we may have a few that we'll bring to you next month as well, because we still have a little bit of hiring to do. But any questions?
I don't see any, Dr. Lees.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks.
Purchases over 50,000, Jason?
So there's no purchases over 50,000, but we do have a contract that's longer than a year that the board will need to approve. It's a massive contract of $35 a month for 36 months. So really kind of small stuff. It's just for security monitoring. So anyway, that's all I got.
$35 a month.
35 big ones.
Additional. Is that additional?
What bit of security is that?
They do not have a concealed weapons permit. Any questions, board members? Okay. Number 4, date of board retreat. Superintendent, would you like to start us off?
You bet. President Shivers and board, we had a conversation a few months ago about having a board retreat to be able to further the work on our handbook. I've got 4 Fridays I would propose. If you could just look at your calendars. Christy, as I read these dates, could you please check and make sure we're not conflicting with home football games, okay? Or maybe even home volleyball. Just it'd be nice to find a Friday when our teams are traveling, okay? So the Fridays, October 21st, October 28th, November 4th, or November 11th. So Christy, help us. Which is one of those dates open?
The high school's,
No, October. The last 2 in October. The first 2 Fridays in November.
the high school's
November
performing
11th,
and
Veterans Day. What do you guys do for Veterans Day?
Well, really, it's a matter of what's after school stuff, right? Because we'll meet in the evening likely. So
The Anastasia performance at the high school's on the 28th.
On the
and
28th?
I would be tied up of October.
Did you just the 28th?
Yeah.
Okay.
UEA, that's a Wednesday. Yeah, because
Because
it's
of
UEA,
UEA.
they always play that Wednesday.
What time did you say again?
Just in the evening, late afternoon. I'd like to get together for, like we did last time, for a couple hours, have a dinner, and then spend a little time after in training.
So the week of the 28th, Friday possibly, but if I have a buck killed by then.
Yeah, there's a lot of conflicts in the fall. That's why I'm proposing 4. If we look at 4 Fridays, you'd think we could find one.
Yeah, if Dave lets me hunt his property, then I'll probably have one.
They're all gonna die next year anyway, so it don't matter.
Yeah, get rid of them. So Christy, did you find one of those dates that was open? I kind of put Christy on the spot here. So they're away on all those, huh? Okay.
And Tanya's busy on the 28th. Does anybody have a conflict on November 4th?
That's the best day for me so far.
Don't
You
pull
might
that
hang
face,
up.
you gotta speak up.
The only day that's the best for me is the 21st of October, so.
Robin, that's the opening of hunting season.
Yeah, I won't be there.
I didn't think about
Yes, I
that,
forgot
sorry.
that's a national holiday here. Okay, all right.
Is the 4th doable for you?
Yeah, how late are we gonna go?
Midnight.
Okay.
If we started at
I'll make it
midnight,
work,
it's the
I'll
next
make it
day.
work. I just have to be somewhere on the 5th.
Well, we can wrap it up. We don't have to be real late.
Okay.
We can do it, yeah.
I just,
What time can you guys start? Is 4 o'clock okay for a starting time? If we start at 4, I think we can be done at a reasonable time.
Yeah,
Todd, Denise, Tanya,
yep.
Robin?
So we'll plan 90 minutes, we'll eat dinner, and then if we have additional work to do after, we can. If not, we can be done after dinner. How's that sound, Robin? Is that good?
Yes, that's great.
4 o'clock PM. And we'll meet here. We'll do it here.
They got a grill here, so board members, would that be okay with you if we just came here and ate and do our thing from here? What was you thinking about, hamburgers? What do you wanna do, Superintendent?
We'll do
Rick,
something a little
Rick
nicer
said
than
he's still up
hamburgers.
Okay.
for helping.
Pardon?
Rick said he's still up for helping.
We'll have a nice meal ready.
I believe all of us as board members can help with the meal, so it's
Yeah,
not
too.
Okay.
board members, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
they, you can make assignments, superintendent, you
I
can
will-
let them, everybody volunteer, you can do
I'll take
whatever you
take
want.
care of it. I'll send out an email and just ask for assignments for maybe some salad. We'll take care of the main course and maybe a potato dish, and then you guys can bring some dessert, salads, those kinds of things. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Okay.
What time?
4. We'll meet at 4 o'clock and we'll eat at 5:30.
This question's gonna come up sooner or later, Superintendent. Are spouses coming to eat or not?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Plan to have your spouse come to eat with us at 5:30.
Wait. Oh, are we, I thought we were eating at 4. No.
No, we'll meet for 90, then
Oh,
then
okay,
eat.
sorry.
Yeah.
Flip flop. Sorry.
Anything else on that, Superintendent?
I don't think so. I think.
What do we need to have to be prepared as board
So
members?
I will resend out a copy of our proposed handbook, and really, if you just become familiar with the document, you don't have to read it cover to cover, so to speak, but become familiar with it, and I think if you've done that, we'll be ready to roll. Yep.
Okay. Next item, 4B, human resource update. Dr. Lees?
So you have a memo in your packet. The superintendent asked me just to report on our hiring season. So you can see that we have filled 159 positions for this school year. I broke those down a little bit for you in the memo. 7 administrative positions, 3 instructional coaches, 50 new teachers. This does not count teachers who moved from an elementary to an elementary or a middle school to a middle school. So 23 secondary hires, 27 elementary, and 3 of those 50 are international guest teachers serving in our DLI program. 2 at Discovery and 1 at the high school. We have 12 student service positions that we've hired, 16 positions filled in transportation, foods, and maintenance, 8 secretarial, and then you can see a whole lot of aides, 44 part-time, 5 full-time, 2 media specialists, 12 coaches. When I wrote this memo, we had one sped life skills teaching position and a half-time kindergarten teacher position open. That's changed a little bit. I'm only the 9th, only 5 days ago, we have done some hiring since then, but we currently have a half-time kindergarten teacher at Naples and a special ed elementary teacher life skills classroom at Mazer open, as well as some other, quite a bit of support staff positions. We have athletic coaches at the middle school, 4 that we still need to hire, 2 secretarial positions. So just wanted to give you an overview of what we've been doing, and there's no action item on this tonight. It's just for your information only.
Any questions, board
Yeah, what you do
members?
in your spare time?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
That's unbelievable. That's workload.
I need to take my girls to lunch, right?
Yes, I bet you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
We've
is
been
a
busy.
workload, so thank you.
It's been a feat, but we have
President?
had some really good hires.
I just want to comment real quick. I mean, it's an immense amount of work. I mean, if any of you have been involved in a hiring process, you know how much goes into it in terms of recruiting, all the paperwork that's involved, the interviewing. So I want to thank Mistalin and our HR department, her staff, and also all of you school administrators. Every hire, you're involved in some capacity, and it takes a lot of time and effort to have this process. You know, 159 positions it's pretty impressive. Let's hope we don't have that level of turnover every year, but it's a big task every year. It just is, by the nature of what we do. So, Mistalin, thank you. Principals that are here, thank you, and your staff for the hard work.
Yes.
All right.
One last thing. There may not be a more important thing than us getting the right people on the bus. When we make the right hires, it prevents a lot of work, and it makes us more effective. We can do better for kids when we have good teachers and staff in the classroom and in the schools. So I just appreciate that not only are we doing it, but we have hired great people over the past year. It's been exciting to see the quality of staff we've brought on.
So Superintendent, if I remember right, at this time last year, we expected these kind of numbers based on what we're asking of these individuals today. So I appreciate the effort put into getting some quality folks, and not saying we didn't lose, you know, we lost some quality individuals as well, but the reality is that's an awesome job. I still can't believe you can hire 159 people in that short of time. So
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Dr. Lees. Tell your staff thanks too, please. Report on delegate assembly. Board member Tanya McKee is going to take that for us, and the superintendent's going to push a button.
See if that works. Just a second, I think that.
Is it doing what it's supposed to do on your end?
It is, it's just spinning though, so
It takes just a minute.
it stop spinning.
put in the wrong password.
It says it's doing it, but.
Give it just a second. There we go. Very good. All right, we're good.
Okay. All right, so I don't want to take too much time because I know we're getting, how much time do we? Okay. So I attended the JLC meeting, and basically it's just a committee made up of board members and business administrators and superintendents from across the state, as I understand it. And we get together and come up with a document to give to the legislature with our priorities for session this year, this coming year, and what our priorities would be and the things that we're hoping that they will do. So this is what we came up with. At the top, the statement I wanted to read, and everyone really worked on this and made sure it was exactly what they wanted. And I wanted to highlight what's in red here. It says the Joint Legislative Committee of the Utah School Boards Association and Utah School Superintendents Association believes that families are the key to our success as a society, and public education is the great equalizer. We are dedicated to supporting all students and know that our system and communities are stronger when we are all involved and participating within the public education system. To that end, we must continue to invest in quality educators, student support, schools, and policies supportive of public education. The JLC values and appreciates the support we have received from our legislative partners and looks forward to working together to reach our vision for Utah students and families. So I highlighted, and we specifically talked about this phrase, families are the key to our success as a society and public education is the great equalizer. And they really wanted to highlight that, especially with a lot of the things that have been happening politically. They really want everyone to understand that we value families as the key to our success, and we want input from families, and we support families, and that they are a big part of our decisions. And so I just thought that was really important that we highlight that. And then as we go down, they basically broke this into 4 sections. And the first 3 I see as basically funding, the things that we want to see funded. And so we start out with the funding that we want for quality educators. And the number that was given, which is much higher than it has been in the past, was 10% WPU increase. And that includes inflation and to attract educators and support staff. It was estimated that our inflation rate would be around 5 or 6% this coming year by the time they meet. And so that would be included in that number. Then next was increase the educator salary adjustment and move it above the line, address critical educator shortages by creating options for retired educators to return to work without retirement benefit reductions. And then the next section talks about student support, the funding that they want for that. I wanted to highlight, I underlined fund full-day kindergarten because it's not that they want them to pass legislation to require full-day kindergarten, it's that they want it to be funded at a full WPU that would allow us to expand opportunities for those that need it. That was important. And then increase support for mental health needs and provide additional funding to support students with disabilities. So those were the student supports that they wanted funding for, or we all agreed to. And then the schools, to support the schools, we are asking for $5 million a year to attain 85% state support for to and from transportation costs as provided in statute, and $500,000 a year to increase necessarily existent small schools funding, and will continue to advocate for isolated schools. That's a big one to me because my children attend an isolated school. At least I assume that it would be labeled that. $250 million in economic stabilization funds to support capital costs, school safety, and technology. And then the next section is more about policies that we wanted to be addressed by the legislature. So is this not working very well? Probably because I keep looking away from it. Okay, I'll try to move it. It might work better. We support local governance by elected this one was important to me. We support local governance by elected nonpartisan school boards who serve as liaisons to their communities and work collaboratively with parents, guardians, and stakeholders through policy and processes. So that's just saying that we support local control, right? That we don't want everything to be micromanaged on a state level. We support the elimination of curricular, co-curricular, and general fees if the replacement funding is provided. We support school accountability and are prepared to work cooperatively with legislators to repeal school grading legislation, so that they just wanted a change in how we do that, but we do support accountability. We support a legislative, so this one there was a study, there was a big discussion on this, on the impact fees. Some of the schools on the Wasatch Front, they'll have areas that grow really fast, And then they have a lot of people that are upset, that like older people in the community that have been established, that they have to pay for the new schools. And so there's been kind of a push for impact fees. So they would say if you want to build a new home, then they would assess, say it was like a $10,000 impact fee on any new build that would go to the schools to build the new school to accommodate the growth. Obviously, there were people on the committee that were really concerned about that, that it would curtail growth and hurt the industries that work with building and construction. So what was decided that we would support a legislative study of the school impact fees that have been implemented in other states so that we can see what those impacts were and how it works and whether it would be a good idea in our state going forward. Then we did modifying the calculation of the certified tax rate to include annual inflation adjustment. The word automatic was removed because legislatures apparently really don't like that word in bills. So, and then finally, we oppose all efforts that move public education funds to private interest through vouchers, tax credits, and other means. And we know that will be a really hot topic this coming year. And so that was something that they wanted on there. I will say, just for myself, I do not necessarily myself agree with every single point on this, but I had a chance to share my voice and to participate and be a part of this process. So I'm not saying that I personally would write this document, but it was a really great process that involved everyone, and almost all of it I really do strongly agree with. So it was a really good opportunity.
Board members, any questions or comments that Tanya might be able to answer?
Thanks for going to represent us.
So Tanya, are they going to have additional meetings, or was this a one-time and
They
you're out?
have meetings, the JLC meets throughout the year.
Meet every Friday during
So-
the session. So this is their legislative priorities that they're gonna lobby for. USBA will be up lobbying for these priorities.
So I'm just curious, Principal Nurden may help me with this one. I've had a few parents talk to me about attendance at the high school and the challenges that I guess we hobble the teachers or the administration on who and what can we consider attendance and not attendance, or how a parent can excuse their student for anything. Has that been addressed in any of these meetings? And it gives, talking with teachers, and maybe some of these teachers agree, it gives a student an out on on anything. And it's hard for the teachers to keep students in class. I'm just curious if they've talked about trying to remove some of those.
They haven't talked about that in any of the meetings that I've attended. You've been to more of them than I have.
Just the legislation that's passed, though, from last legislative session, but we do have that fall meeting coming up.
Yeah, I just,
that's when you should bring it up to USBA. You'll have officers there. That's
speaking of which, that meeting,
Am I speaking out of turn? Is that?
No, I think that's
that's a
exactly right.
good time to bring that up to that meeting.
Yeah.
So Principal Nurden, if you could get me more information on that, exactly how that works and how many students you actually have that are excused with, something I can go to that group with would be great. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we can look at our data and we'll give you what we have, right? So, yeah.
From the teachers I've talked to or that have reached out to me, it sounds like that is a major issue.
Yeah, and the reality is
schools.
it's been an issue for a long time in terms of the enforcement side.
Right.
Not by us, but by law enforcement. We call this compulsory attendance, meaning by law, students have to attend school. But the reality is for truancy, many communities are very laxed in the enforcement from local judges and law enforcement. So it's a hard one, and I think that's why it was softened a little bit at the legislative session last year.
Yeah, it sounded like that made a mess of things. So.
Yeah.
I think something else we need to bring up at that meeting too, board members, as we visit with them, which will be October 11th. Robin's showing me at 6 p.m. It's the one that's held at Casa Rios, or Cafe Rios. nobody even remembers that other one. But I attended that meeting last year that Tanya went to, and we really appreciate you going out there and taking that weekend away from your family. But something that I hope that, and I feel strongly that we need to instill in the state, when we sit and visit with them legislatures, we need to provide them with facts. Facts about what, so we'll just pick on one. It's easy for us to look at them and say, okay, we want money for all-day kindergarten. But what's the facts? What are half-day kindergarten kids doing and full-day kindergarten doing? Them ladies and gentlemen out there can convince people and they have money for things that are based on facts. But everybody has wants. And it's way easier to fund something that's backed by facts than it is something that's backed by, well, our district would like to have this, and you have all these districts that have their own pet things. So that's something that I hope that we can instill in them some, as, you know, Robin's trying to set up a meeting with our legislator and our state representative, but them guys have to deal on facts, not what Dave would like to have or Todd would like to have. They need facts, and I hope we can work on that. Anybody else have anything for this meeting? I'd accept a motion to close the work session.
I would make a motion to close the work session.
Robin seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3 minutes.
How long, Superintendent, do we want? It's 2 minutes to 6. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we will start our business meeting.
who's receiving the superintendent reports for shooters, Calvin McClellan, Tommy McKees, Renee
And that's who?
Todd Massey, Steve Wilkins, and me, Jason Johnson.
Welcome, everybody. We want to get started on our, sorry, we're a few minutes late on our business meeting portion of the meeting. Ryan Mansfield's here as our student rep. And Scoot, now if you will turn his name tag around, I won't call him Ashlyn all night. Because I am terrible with names. Welcome, we're glad to have you here. Robin's been pouting because I wouldn't let her do this, so. No, really, she invited people to say the pledge and the reverence, and I can't pronounce her name, so I'm going to turn that portion over to Robin.
Okay. It's actually my assignment to find our reverence and our pledge every month for our meeting, just so you know. So for our reverence tonight, we have David O'Riordan. He is the administrator for the Uintah Basin Christian Academy, and he's a great addition to our community. So he will give our reverence, which can be a prayer or a thought. And then our pledge will be by the Uintah High School Student of the Month, Uzea Trujillo. So, David, you're up.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to do a thought and a prayer. How about that? So both. In the book of Peter, it talks about, above all things, have fervent love for one another. It talks about being hospitable to one another, and it also talks about us receiving gift, a gift that God gives us, and we're to minister that gift to one another and be good stewards of that gift. And we live in a special community here. I've been here probably a year and a half almost now, and it's just been incredible to get to know the community, and I've seen this community sharing the love, the care, and so it's alive and well. And my encouragement, and that's what it is tonight, is let's keep that going. Every opportunity we have to share love, let's use the gifts that we've been given. So I just want to encourage you guys with just that quick word. But let us pray. Father, just thank you for just first of all this town, this community, the freedom we have just to pray, Lord, and just we appreciate just the freedoms that we have in this country, in this place. And I just pray for wisdom and discernment for this district, Lord, this town, the leadership. That you would give wisdom in decision making. Just like we read, I pray that love and gifts will be flowing freely throughout this community, and that we just continue to grow and just be just a place where folks just feel loved, Lord. And we just thank you just for this meeting tonight. We hand all these things over to you, and I pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
And Uzziah, you'll just come up and lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, you guys. That was great. We appreciate you coming and doing that for us. Student Board Member Report, Ryan Mansfield. We'll turn some time over to you for that.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So this last week at Uintah High School, it was homecoming week, and so we had a ton of dress-up days, and of course our football team won, so that was a big deal. But the most important part was the dance, and that was a huge success. We had a big turnout, and we made over $10,000 in tickets. And just everybody loved the venue of the airport hangar, and it was just overall really good. Last week we also had our 9/11 assembly, and on the football game of homecoming, we also had both football teams bring out flags, and that was really cool for everybody to see to represent 9/11. During the assembly, though, we had Patriot Guard riders there and had flags, and we lined up flags all around the high school, and it was just really cool to see. And we had our choir do the national anthem for us. Some upcoming activities we have powder puff football for our school at September 22nd, and then we have a home volleyball game tomorrow, and then football will be away this week at Payson. girls soccer will be at Payson on Monday. And then we have a blood drive September 27th and 28th at the high school. And then we also have a canned food drive going now through October 7th. On October 12th, which is football senior night, the Ute Tribe will be performing for us, so that'll be super cool. And then one last thing that Miss Martindale asked me to talk about was the one lunch, and I think the one lunch is going great personally. A lot of people have been complaining about traffic, but I don't really have to deal with that, but because I have seminary. But you know, I think it's great. But I think everybody likes it other than the traffics, and that's all I got.
Well, Ryan, we appreciate you coming. How was I heard we bused the kids from the high school parking lot down to the airport hangar, is that correct?
Yep.
Did that work out good?
Yep, so they meet at the Vernal Middle School, and we just transport them down every 15, 20 minutes, back and forth, and it's great. I think it was great.
Good. Well, congratulations, Utes. We love winning homecoming. That's great. I heard everything about it was great.
It was way great. Yeah, I loved it.
Thanks for coming and reporting.
Yep.
Okay, now we're going to turn over the time to our superintendent for our celebrations.
Great. First, before we have our students and their teachers line up and principals, I want to just take a minute and thank the parents, grandparents, family members who support our students that are here tonight. We had a powerful statement read earlier by you know, at the delegate assembly that Tanya shared with us, and you know, we really do. We can't do this without you. I mean, the parent, the family, that's the key, like the key ingredient in a student's success. They cannot be successful without you. So thank you for what you do. We appreciate you being here tonight to celebrate your amazing students. I mean, to be a student of the month in Uintah, we have 6,500 kids. So really, if you're sitting in this room, you're in an elite spot in terms of whatever it is you did to deserve to be here. Congratulations. With that, let's do this. Let's give all of them a big round right now. Right at the front. Okay. With that, principals, teachers, if you'll go line up out, we are going to start with Mazer Elementary first today, and then we'll go in order on the sheet of paper that you have. Okay? Oh yeah, and remember, after you get your reward, your award, students, we want you and your parents to go out into the foyer out here, and Jeff Lysick's going to take a picture of you. Okay?
So I'm Denise Williams, the principal at Mazer, and we have Raleigh, who is our cub, our Mazer cub, and Mrs. Brown, who is here to introduce Raleigh. Sorry. So I get the awesome opportunity to introduce Raleigh to everybody. She is in my 4th grade class, and I just love this gal. She is so sweet to everyone around her in our class. She is helpful and kind, and she's really patient. Sometimes that is a hard thing to have with other 4th graders. So I appreciate her patience with everyone, and I'm just so glad that she is in our class. Thank you.
So I'm Erin Brown. I'm the coordinator of Central Cove Preschool, and we've been in school for all of a whole week. And Layla Remington has really helped us to kick off the year the right way. And so her teacher, Miss Nicole, is here to brag about her a little bit.
So this is Layla. She's a golden princess today. Isn't she lovely? You want to twirl? Yes. How could she not be? So she is a great role model in school. She's in our pre-K program. She follows all the teachers' directions. She's a good friend. And most importantly, she tells all of her friends they can zip up their own backpacks because of her wonderful occupational therapist mother. So that is wonderful.
Let's have some handshakes. Yeah. Come on around the table. I want a handshake. All right. Good job. Good job, little lady.
Good job.
I was so thrilled when our student Lucius Harris was nominated to be Student of the Month because I love him. He's a wonderful kid, and I think he's a great representative for our school. This is his teacher, Mrs. Evans. I'm going to have Mrs. Evans tell us a little bit about and why she chose Lucius for this honor.
I chose Lucius because he has just been so enthusiastic to participate in our CKLA lessons and our science lessons, and he's always has that hand up raising and is ready to participate. He is just taking risk, and even if he doesn't know the answer, he takes that feedback and he learns it and applies it, and I just think that's going to be awesome for him to start the year because he's just ready to learn and he's just ready to go, and I know he's going to do great things this year.
This is Eden Glover at Davis Elementary, and I get to substitute a little bit. We're missing our principal and her teacher, but I worked today to see some of the good qualities that we wanted to report. I worked with her a couple of times throughout the day myself, and she asked if I would come and give her her award. So for Mrs. Perez, who is her teacher, here is our certificate. But I want you to know that she was nominated not just by her teacher, but by the entire 5th grade team. And she was nominated by all 3 teachers because of her hard work, her consistent ability to be on task. She's willing to help others out around her. She always has a smile on her face, and she's good not only to the other kids in helping them find their rooms or other things when the little kids are coming into our building bright and early in the morning. She also helps teachers. So if they need some help or they need some extra little duties, she's more than willing to step up to the plate and do that. And myself and working with her, I just find that she is one awesome student, and I'm glad she touches my life the way she does.
ready? All right. We're Discovery Elementary, and our student of the month that we love to present is Mr. Davis Reese. He is an excellent choice, mainly because he smiles at me every day when he comes in. And now I'm going to let his teachers, Mrs. Colton and Mrs. Caballero, I say their names wrong, they just get used to me. So they're going to, well, one of them's going to talk.
Davis is a wonderful example of pride. He is a problem solver. He shows respect and integrity. He is very dependable and always gives his best effort. Davis is also very optimistic and has a positive attitude about everything. Davis always has a smile, even when doing challenging assignments. He encourages his classmates to be the best that they can be. Davis is incredible.
I am Tina Daniels from Eagleview Elementary, and this is Navario Warensky, and he is our Student of the Month. Navario is an amazing student. He works hard at everything he does. He never gives up. He never hands in a blank paper. He works. If he doesn't know how to do it, I'm the math teacher. If he doesn't know how to do it, he will try something every time. And that is a great quality to have. He's a problem solver, and I appreciate that. I asked some of the other teachers, because Navario has lots of teachers all day long, and they all agreed that he was our Student of the Month. So I asked him, what would you say about Navario if you could? And one of them said, he's always on task. He can sit by anyone in the classroom. He's always friendly, and he works well with his peers. Another great quality to have, to be able to get along with everybody. Doesn't matter who you sit him by, he's great. Another one said, Navario is polite, conscientious, and hardworking. It is great to have Navario in my class, and the other teachers really enjoy him, and we're just really proud of the work that he's done. So congratulations.
Right, well, wonderful. From La Pointe Elementary, our Student of the Month is Aliana Nelson, and she was nominated by her 5th grade teacher, Miss Lloyd. And I asked Miss Lloyd, she lives in Roosevelt, and Aliana, they live a long ways away as well. And I asked Mrs. Lloyd if she wanted me to read something for her so she didn't have to drive as far, and she said, no, I'm coming. So yeah, it was really special. So I'll turn it over to Mrs. Lloyd.
Thank you. So when Mr. Heath asked me 2 weeks ago to pick a Student of the Month, my first thought was, holy cow, I'm just starting to get to know them. That's going to be tough. And then when I started looking around my classroom, it was even tougher, because I have a bunch of leaders, a bunch of kids that are doing great academically. But Aliana stood out to me because she embodies several of our district values, most importantly, her integrity, her work ethic, and her grit. Her 4th grade teacher shared with me that math is not her best subject, that she struggles with it. And this kid, every day, she's here participating, she's taking risks, she's trying, and I really appreciate that. So I'm really excited to see all the awesome things Aliana's going to do this year.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Martineau, principal of Naples Elementary, and our student of the month is Caitlin Sorensen, and she's a 5th grader in Miss Bourne's class, and Miss Bourne's here to talk about Caitlin.
All right, I could say so many things about this girl. This is the type of girl that does math equations on her spare time just for fun. She is incredibly bright, but not only that, she's also incredibly kind. She helps everyone in her class whenever she can. She is always willing to share her knowledge and her insights, and this is a smart girl. If you've ever had one of those students that could stand up and teach half your class, that's Caitlin. She's just absolutely amazing, and she's going to do awesome things. This award is well deserved.
I am Sarah Anderson. I am an 8th grade English teacher at Uintah Middle School, and we have chosen Kyle Hunter as our student of the month. Our 8th grade team got together and we decided that Kyle embodies a lot of the things that we value as Hawks at Uintah Middle School. We have hard work, accountability, with-itness, kindness, and safety, and Kyle is all of these things. In fact, with itness, he was emailing me yesterday, saying, hey, I did this, will you grade it, please? So, and I did today, so you're good. Kyle is awesome and an excellent example of what it means to be a Hawk. He works hard in everything he does and is one of the first to volunteer to help someone else, be it teachers or students. Kyle has a great attitude and excellent sense of humor and is kind to all around him. And I had the privilege of teaching Kyle in 6th grade and now again in 8th grade, and I can say that he is awesome. Continue being so, Kyle.
Now you're gonna bust this when I grab a hold of it? No? You're pretty tough looking kid. Good job.
Put the ball in the future.
I'm Mr. Olson, principal at Vernal Middle School, and this is Kinsley Bristol. She's our student of the month. I want to share some of the things that her teachers have said about her. Kinsley is a respectful and responsible student. She is a self-starter and very motivated. She treats everyone with kindness. In fact, we have never heard her say unkind words to any student. Even when she isn't having the best day, she is still kind. She puts a lot of effort into her studies and does her best to stay on task. She communicates clearly with teachers and peers. She is willing to help without being asked. And she sets a great example for others to follow. Congratulations.
I'm Mrs. Nurden, I'm principal at the high school. This is Uzziah Trujillo. Uzziah, right? Okay, all right. And he's our student of the month. And this is Mrs. Alarid, and she's going to tell you just how amazing he is, all right?
Well, what can I say, guys? High school. but Uzziah is the true definition of grit. This kid comes to class, he participates in his learning, and he gets his peers involved in his learning. That's tough to do. A room full of boys, but Uzziah does it.
I'm grateful that I get to be a teacher again. Good job, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Abe Curtis. I'm actually the teacher of Charlicia Johnson. Charlicia is a student with us at Uintah Online with Ashley Valley Education Center. She was hoping to be here. She was really excited to come and get this tonight, but they had a family situation that made it so she was not able to come. Nonetheless, Charlicia was a very hard worker. I've had the pleasure of working with her over the last couple of years. She's very quiet. She's very shy. And yet, even with those attributes, she comes forth and gets the work done that she needs to get done. She focuses every month. She sets goals for herself. She accomplishes those goals. Already this year, she's accomplished almost 2 of her courses. So we're really proud of her and all the hard work that she does.
President Shivers, that concludes our student celebrations. I, again, appreciate those of you that were here to support your students and all that you do. I'll turn the time back over to you if you want to dismiss those parents. Kids.
Okay. We appreciate everybody coming. You're not required to stay the whole night. And so any of you that would like to go, now is probably a good time. You're surely welcome to stay. Checking the board, we have no patron input, so we're going to move on to item number 2 and the consent calendar. I'd make a motion, I would accept a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I move that we accept the consent calendar, which includes work session minutes, business meeting minutes, curriculum materials committee approval, LEA specific license endorsements, and September purchases over 50,000, which actually we just talked about a contract approval.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Tanya seconds. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number A2. Superintendent, does it take in all of these on the first reading?
Yep, this item B on first reading, so you can ask for a motion to include all of those 4 policies.
Okay. Item number B, we could accept a motion to accept all 4 policies on the first reading. And if someone would like to make that motion, we probably need them policy numbers read in.
I'll make a motion to accept the approval of policies. Policy 006, 0150, policy 004.0610, policy 004.0611, policy 007.025.
That's 245.
245.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Denise seconds it. Any discussion from the board? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Yeah, okay. Number C, we're gonna do policy by policy. So I'd accept a motion on, under item C, number 1. I'd accept a motion for that policy.
I'll recommend a motion for policy 005.0550, volunteering in the district schools.
We have a motion by Denise. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Todd seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Item C, policy number 2 for second reading. We'd entertain a motion to accept it.
I will make a motion to approve policy 005.2150, concealed weapons in schools, with the following changes. Under 3.3, the law provides that a qualified person must obtain a permit to carry a concealed firearm for lawful defense on school property. And then the rest would remain the same under 3.3, and then to change 2.5 to 3.5.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. C3. Would somebody like to make a motion on it?
I will make a motion to approve policy 007.0915, evaluation of interscholastic athletic participation.
I'll second.
Robin McClellan seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. C4. Would someone like to make a motion on it?
I'll make a motion that policy 007.0920, participation in sex-designated athletic activities and teams, be approved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Scoot Wilkins seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Sean, are we going so fast you can't keep up? Sorry. C5.
I'll make a motion on that one.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the new policy 007.0925, admissions and attendance of military children.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Todd Massey seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Passes unanimously. C6.
I'll make a motion to approve policy 007.0905, period products in schools.
We have a motion by Tanya. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Denise Maynard seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, thanks, Superintendent. We do, for just a quick moment, we do have a lot of people that wasn't here during the work session. We started at 4. For those of you that, as it might be portraying right now, that we're whipping through a lot of things without much discussion or input, which is not the case. That takes place in the work session, and a lot of things are discussed, and people's opinions, everything's taken into consideration in that meeting. And so this is just a part of the meeting where it becomes official and is voted. We do no voting in the business meeting. That's just to ask the questions that we need to know, to clarify, to do those things that we need to, so that we're ready for this meeting, just for those of you that just joined us, to help you understand. Did I do that correctly, Superintendent? Okay. Item number D, personnel changes. Do we have a motion for the personnel changes?
I move that we approve the recommended personnel changes as disclosed by our spreadsheet.
Do we have? Second it. Scoot Wilkins seconds it. Dr. Lees? Remember, board members, I say this every month, and I'll be the one that messes it up sometime. If you have a problem with someone, we need to refer to them as a number and not a name. If you have any questions for Dr. Lees, now's the time, or comments. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Lees. We went over it in the first meeting. Now, usually I'm pretty good with numbers. 156 changes, somewhere in there? 159. 159. And so they, for those of you just joining us, that department has been very busy, and we appreciate and hope that those that have joined Uintah School District find it a place that they like to work and can excel here, because if they excel, then our students do. And so we're excited for them. Informational and discussion items. Superintendent, can I turn this over to you and you can introduce your principal? And
yeah, absolutely. We have Principal Carrie Weldon. She's going to share a presentation on her school, and I've got to get this thing up on the screen for her. So give me just a second, Carrie.
Okay.
Sorry, Carrie, I kind of dropped that on him. I don't think he was really planning on the introduction. He was planning on taking care of the technology.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. Anyway.
Do you have a clicker? Or
Yeah, we do. I'll have I'll do it.
Okay.
So, every month we have one of our principals present. So the board can stay up to date on what's happening in their schools, and it's been a wonderful opportunity. So we always look forward to these presentations now. I know that Principal Weldon has put some thought and time into her presentation, so we'll turn the time over to her. Thank you.
So this is the great place I work, Ashley Elementary School, and we have dedicated, very dedicated teachers and support staff who selflessly serve our wonderful students here. We are building a culture of high expectations, both academically and behaviorally, and this is our school motto, and every morning the kids say this motto along with me during our announcements. So it is, we are Ashley Explorers. We are committed to excellence in learning. We are brave, we are focused, we are determined, and then everybody goes, Yahoo, because we're the explorers. All right. But all of those are attributes that we want our students to have, and so we want them to remember those every day. The goals for our school this year are to improve student learning through collective efficacy, which is the belief that as a team or a group, we can do more and be better teachers and have better results through working together. So therefore, we are focused on improving our PLC processes and as a structure for improving our collective efficacy. And our second goal is to build a culture where high expectations lead to confident and capable students. And so kids crave structure in their lives. Kids might not believe that, but they really do. And we are building a culture of consistency so kids know at all times what is expected of them. We also focus on acknowledging positive behavior because focusing on the positive will lead to better behavior overall. And so we try to teach our children through focusing on the positive. And our third goal is that to support learning, we support it through supporting the emotional health and well-being of our students. And the kids come to us with all sorts of needs, and sometimes we cannot address their educational needs until we address their emotional needs. And so later I'm going to introduce to you my behavior team who helps support our students' emotional needs. And our high expectations begin at the door. And so every day they are greeted at the door. You can see I'm standing by the door and they come in and they give me a fist bump. And we do some positive talk with them and they tell me I am ready to learn. And so we want them to be focused and ready to come into school. You can't see very well, but Mrs. Heather Barnes, my social worker, is down there too. And a lot of what we're doing at this time is just having a check-in with our kids. If somebody comes in crying or looks upset, we have a moment to stop and pull them aside and maybe bolster them up before they come in the doors and start their day. If there's an issue, like something happened on the bus, I will often get a little word in my ear, and then I'll know that I need to address that later on. Or if I've seen someone who I think Mrs. Barnes needs to check in with, maybe a little bit later, I'll make note of that, and then she can check in and see how people are doing. And so we try to start at the door with having that positive, that they're ready to learn and we care about them. And so that's what we're doing. And we're not the only ones who greet at the door. All of the teachers, and I've got a picture of some of my teachers standing at their door greeting their students, and they do positive talk as well. So they'll say, you've got this, we've got this, and we're going to have a great day. And so all of this is to build them and to remind them that we love them and this is a place where we want them to feel comfortable and welcome. So our demographics. This is what my school is all about. We have 517 students currently enrolled. 62% are economically disadvantaged. And that comes from the amount of students who are enrolled for free and reduced lunch. That's how that's calculated. About 13.6% live in homes where intergenerational poverty exists. And intergenerational poverty is a statistics that comes from job services, the state job services. And these are homes where for at least 12 months as a child and as an adult, the parent has been on public assistance. And so that's what that means. 17% are Hispanic, 4% are Native American, 5% are mixed race, just 3 students are Asian, and 1 Pacific Islander, and 6% are English language learners. So we have a very diverse population, but as you can see, they're all included and they all have good friends at our school. So this is my great mental health support team. Jody Mapp is our behavior intervention specialist, and she supports teachers by helping them implement behavior plans for students who need behavior interventions. And Heather Barnes is my social worker, and she does a great job helping create behavior intervention plans and also counseling children who need some emotional support. And she's been a great benefit to our school. She came to us about 3 years ago and has made a huge difference in our students. So, I forgot something. I have something for all of you. Sorry, I didn't bring one for everybody.
Thank you.
I gave you one.
Yeah, I have one. Thank you.
So, we have something new at our school this year. We want our students to love learning and want to learn things on their own as well as in class, and we want them to be lifetime learners. So we've started the Explorers Club, and this is based on a real club. There is an Explorers Club that has been around since 1904, and it celebrates explorers and scientific discovery. So we wanted to bring this encouragement to our school. So we started an Explorers Club, and there's many ways that kids can join the Explorers Club. They can meet one of this criteria, and when they do, they get a badge. And when they earn 4 badges, so they can do as many as they want. When they earn 4, they get a t-shirt as well, just to encourage them. So these are some of our Explorer Club members so far. Little Abby, you can see she did an experiment on her own at home where she mixed chemicals and colored and made volcanoes. And then the 2 young ladies are my good friends, Holly and Isla, and they are sisters, and they each did science experiments too, and they had to tell me what they did and what they learned, and they did some really fascinating things, and they earned their badges too. And with the badges, there'll be some special activities during the year, and we'll have Explorer Club lunches at times. I know some of the teachers were telling me there's more kids ready to become members of the Explorer Club, so I'm looking forward to hearing from them. But they come and present to me, and I love being able to hear what they've learned. So that is Ashley in a nutshell. Thank you for letting me present and share my school with you. Any questions about anything?
I have one.
Sure.
Miss Weldon, so you're telling us you have 30+ students that are learning English?
Yes, it's about that, right.
That's amazing.
And they're at all different levels, and they're doing great. And some of them, there's a point in their learning where they're not very verbal, but they're all telling me I'm ready to learn every morning when they come in. So they're even learning then to be verbal, yeah.
That's cool. I don't know how you do it, but it's cool.
Well, I will tell you, we've had kids come in, and 1st grade, they don't speak, and by 5th grade, you would never know it. They're learning and up with their peers and working well. Okay, thank you.
We'll turn the time over to the superintendent for calendaring items.
Great. If you'll go into board docs and just open up the document, there's a list that we did receive from principals. It's a little shorter this go around, but I still think there's some good things on there that we'd like to make you aware of. And of course, we need to add one important one, and that would be our retreat. So. What did we decide, by the way? I can't remember now.
November 4, I believe.
4th?
Was that correct, board member?
November 4th, 4 o'clock. I wrote the time down, but I forgot to circle. Okay, so we'll have to add that, November 4th, 4 o'clock p.m. right here.
Can I ask what the pre-K Friday bear hunt is at Central Code?
Aaron.
Aaron.
Yeah. Come.
Yes, so every month, we'll have one down Friday where everybody's invited, and then one that's a pre-K Friday where
grandson, he's gonna wanna bring his dad's dogs. That's what bear hunt means to him.
Just don't bring your guns unless you have a concealed carry.
No,
permit.
no guns. Any other questions, board members, about calendaring? Pardon me, Robin?
Just next month's our early meeting, and it's.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we should mention that.
We're gonna be out at Eagle View next month. And also, it's early in the month. It's a week earlier. So what's the date? It's the first Wednesday. It's the first Wednesday in October.
October
And
5.
Yep. We'll be at Eagle View, and Shauna, that meeting starts at 3:30, right?
Yes.
Does that sound right? Or is it 3 o'clock, Jason?
It says 3:30 on.
Okay, good. I'm not looking at the calendar. I probably should be. All right, so that'll be good.
You guys ready for us over at Eagle View? The principal's not even paying, oh yeah, come on down. Okay. Board members, is there anything that you'd like to add at the end of our meeting? Scoot?
No, sir.
Todd?
Nothing, thank you.
Denise? Tanya?
I'm good.
Robin?
Yes. It's evident to me every time I'm in our meetings that people go into education because not so much monetarily. I mean, that would be great to be compensated, but I mean, it's great, but because they want to make a difference. And so I'm always uplifted after hearing from educators, and I love the energy that the students bring. That's what we're all about. And then I loved the football game with all the flags honoring our September 11th event. So it was really moving. And whoever, I don't know if it was Coach DeCall, I don't know who got that together of student council, but
Christy, who got that together?
It was fantastic. So give him just huge kudos. That was very, very moving and very appropriate and well done to have both teams. I loved it.
Caused a lot of talk in the community. The community loved it.
Can I say
Robin, that's only one. Robin only did one. Go ahead, Denise.
I just have to say, that was probably one of the as football, with all my boys and stuff like that, that was just a really well-ran night. The administration was present, you knew them, you saw them. The student section was awesome. There was no flour, thank you. I mean, it just was a really community effort. Friday was awesome. And the school dance on Saturday was amazing. Jason and I surprised our daughter. She didn't know we were going to chaperone, so that was fun. But she didn't like it, but that's okay. But it was a great night, and whoever, the student council, it was a great night. It was a great thing. So, really good homecoming.
Principal Nurden, will you thank the appropriate people for us, please?
I'm already texting Coach to call.
Shout out.
Thank you. Yeah. Jason? Superintendent?
Yeah, I just want to briefly report on how the opening of school went. We had a fire the day before school, and I believe one the day after, like real fires, right? One on the playground and one in the office at UMS, and had to dispatch the fire units out. You don't see that very often in schools, but despite a couple of fires and a couple of other events and happenings, it's been not just a smooth start, but a really I want to thank our principals that are here, an enthusiastic start. Every building that I've visited, I mean, it's just, there's been a level of enthusiasm this year that's just been fantastic. And the other observation, that pandemic, we've been dealing with the effects of that, and last year the wake of it probably affect us quite a bit in terms of the morale of our staff, and this year seems a little different. It seems like we're no longer in the wake of a pandemic. It seems like people have their footing, and we're moving in a good direction. And so I just want to thank our principals, our teachers, all of our support staff, everybody that works in the district that has contributed to this real positive atmosphere and a great climate that we started this school year off with. So Thank you.
I don't believe I can top that. Thanks all of you for all of your hard work. I would accept a motion to close the meeting.
I move that we adjourn our business meeting.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Scoot Wilkins seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Hey, Tanya, I've got something I need you to sign.
Oh, okay.
This is for your trip.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Sign that, I'll have Dave sign it.
Yeah, you know the students.
Thank you.
Get you a check.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you going.
Oh, yeah.
I felt so bad. Here's what happened. So I was sick a few days before.
Yeah.
I got sick on Thursday. Pretty sick on Friday. I got up at 4 o'clock Saturday morning. First thing I did is I took my temperature. Normal. I felt great, right? And so my plan was to drive down for the delegate assembly. So my wife, she's like, "You better test." Because I tested negative on Thursday. She said, "You better do something." So I took a test at like 4:15 a.m.
Oh, no.
So I couldn't. Kind of bummed out because my plan was to go to the delegate assembly and go watch Utah State.
Oh, that would have been awesome. Hey.
So I stayed home.
Okay.
Stayed home. Watched the ball game on TV.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, so
I don't know how to kill it.
So I dodged it for 2.5 years and then.
And then you got it. You really hadn't had it. Wow.
And you know what? The symptoms, COVID, the inflammation settled in my back.
You know what? I think that's very real. But I think that all of people at my house, because we had it at my house 3 times, but I never had any symptoms of it. But I definitely had inflammation.
Yeah. I think it was my immune system was
Yeah.
that Saturday. I felt good. So even after I tested, staying my front door.
Give you a chance to get something done, right?
Something's going on here, and then the next day, sciatica.
Oh no. Yeah. To get the swelling down and stuff. Oh, that's the worst. I'm sorry.
That's why